Really kind of basic idea, guys. If you can draw the graph without lifting up your pen or pencil, the graph is continuous. So I have a hole here, right? But it's not, is the hole breaking up the graph? Like, is it in the middle that's breaking it up from left to right? No, it's at an endpoint. So it's actually not a discontinuity in this graph. Because once I start graphing, which would be to the right of the hole, I'm good. So this graph is continuous. Now, not everything is going to be continuous, as you've already mentioned. Let's say we open back up that hole over there, right? So now, do you guys see how this hole now breaks up the graph, right? It's no longer a continuous. No longer can you draw this graph without having to lift up your pencil and continue drawing it, right? So when you have that case, we label them as a discontinuous graph, and we label the discontinuities. And there's two ways we can do it. And this comes into the continuity discontinuity. You have removable and non-removable. And removable discontinuities are basically holes. And non-removable are going to be jump discontinuities and vertical asymptotes. So guys, the way to kind of understand these holes are basically like a point on a graph that is gone. Like it's a hole, like a hole in your shirt, a hole in the graph, right? A jump is basically going from like one function to the next. OK, so it's like one function to another function, like you're jumping from one to the other. And then obviously like an asymptote is going to be those dashed lines where the graph is approaching. It's important for you guys to understand, though, that all discontinuities are not defined in the domain. Or not, actually, sorry, not. Unless it's like, see here, this is not defined in the domain. But I could add a point above it that would make it defined in the domain. OK? Same thing with jump discontinuities. Here, that's not defined in the domain. But if I have a jump where that's filled in, now it is defined in the domain. The one thing that's never going to be defined for the domain is your vertical asymptote, because your graph will never cross the vertical asymptote. That's not always the case for horizontal. So it's different. Be careful with that. So therefore, this is a continuous graph as I have originally drawn it. Anybody have any questions on discontinuities? Basically, what you'll probably be asked is, hey, is it removable or non-removable? And then maybe could you like label what type it is? And then also, you need to tell me where. Like if this is a hole, you got to say the hole occurs at x equals 2. You'd say there's a removable discontinuity, a hole, at x equals -2. So you're always telling me the where. All right, enough with that one. All right, you guys ready to learn the hardest thing of the lesson so far?